Welcome to the Jerry Rig Podcast. So glad you guys could join us. We're your go-to source for insights on business analysis, technology, marketing, and we're just going to have fun today. My name is Jerry Sherstead. I'm going to be your host, and hence the name Jerry Rig Podcast. Today we're going to discuss how to be a badass business analyst, and we have an incredible guest. Her name is Vanessa Grant. She's a ridiculously huge powerhouse in the Salesforce ecosystem. So join us as we explore the secrets on how to become a badass business analyst.
Yeah.
This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast, your no-nonsense knowledge base for business technology, marketing, and analytics. And now your host, Jerry Sherstead.
So today my guest is a person who is, she knows so much about the Salesforce ecosystem and how to be a great business analyst. Vanessa's passion for optimizing systems, her dedication to the community, and all of that has really set her apart in the industry. So I would like to give a personal welcome to Vanessa Grant. And I think your mic is off.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we got you.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. A little tired. I just made it to San Francisco. I'm here for the Trailblazer DX conference, so looking forward to that this week. But a little travel weary, but good.
Yeah.
Enjoy my blurred hotel room right now, but that's Salesforce community living.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. You know what? Remote is these days. You're in bedrooms and kitchens and living rooms. It doesn't even matter anymore. Good. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into this. So Vanessa, I'm so glad you could join us. You made significant strides in the Salesforce community, starting a virtual Salesforce Business Analyst community, speaking frequently on the topic. I knew about you a while ago, but I really got up and close personal when I joined a Clicked team. And that was so much fun. And you're so smart and you got so many just really good gut instinct. I think being a BA is part of your DNA. Would be a fair?
I think that's fair to say. I mean, I was doing business analysis even before I knew what business analysis was, before I had the vocabulary for it. As soon as somebody explained to me what business analysis was, that's when I actually had a career in it, but I'd been doing it for well over a decade before that.
Yes. So we're going to, I want to make sure that we're watching the stream of comments, and then we'll throw up on the screen anything. If anyone has any questions, I want you to just fire it up on the chat stream, and then we'll push it out to Vanessa, and we'll get some answers going. All right. So let's see here. Segment 1. So you successfully launched a Salesforce BA virtual community. So what kind of inspired this initiative?
There wasn't one when I wanted one. So when I really started digging into the Salesforce community back in like 2020, 2021, I started learning about all of these Trailblazer community groups. So there's an admin group, there's a developer group, there's a user group, there were nonprofit groups. And so I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll just start a BA one if there isn't one that already exists. And I thought it would be really easy just because I didn't know a whole lot about the administrative side of those communities. And so I got hooked up with an MVP who connected me with the Trailblazer community team. And I opened up a case. And I was like, all right, let's get a BA group going, because I think there's a need in the community, particularly post-pandemic. I thought it was important that we all connected. And I didn't think I could find enough BAs locally, so I thought having a virtual group would help bring BAs globally together. And it took me over 2 years, but eventually I got the Trailblazer community team to agree to allow me to lead my group. So hopefully turns into something larger than what it is now, but we're still in our infancy. I'm sorry it took so long, but my hope is that together we'll be able to not only network, connect with each other, but also really champion business analysis in the Salesforce ecosystem, where I think it's very, very much needed.
That's cool. That's really cool. So I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I've owned multiple companies. I'm in that part of my life where I don't really want to start any more businesses, right? And it's funny, when I started diving into this thing called business analysis, I think I spent the first month going, oh, yeah, I've done that. Oh, I've done that. Oh, yeah, I've done that. I guess I was a BA the whole time and didn't realize it.
I think business analysis is often the foundation for a lot of roles. And I think if you need to understand customer needs, there's business analysis skills that are involved there. If you need to be an entrepreneur and start putting together, your understanding customer needs, understanding what you need in order to do some management, business analysis, understanding pain points, understanding needs, understanding how we can contribute to solutions, I think are all really important. Right now, I'm a product owner. As a product owner, I do business analysis every day. Am I a business analyst by title? No, not so much. But those are skills that I'm going to take with me forever, because I think, especially if we are in the business of doing IT projects, including Salesforce projects, and I throw that in the same category, business analysis is really the foundation of a successful engagement.
Nice. Well, I've always loved, one of the things that I loved about business is untangling problems. And when you own a company, between employees and accounting, customers, processes, production, whatever the case may be, you're always untangling problems, it seems like. So Michael was kind of asking, what brings you the most joy in your work? What do you love the most?
What I love the most is the human aspect to it. Mostly if I have a successful engagement. So let's say we've delivered a Salesforce project or a Salesforce implementation or a new feature, being able to save people time in their day and making their days easier. I think it's hard enough to be a human in the world, and we end up spending 8+ hours a day at work. So the idea that I can reduce the friction in somebody's day and make their day easier, and let them focus on the things that they want to focus on. It's really frustrating when you've got people that are, they're showing me their processes, and of course it's super painful for them, but it's almost kind of exciting for me because I can see in my head how we might be able to optimize it. So seeing a really difficult process or challenging process that maybe involves a lot of unnecessary steps and optimizing that, of course, with my favorite tool, Salesforce, is often my go-to. But seeing that change in the organization is always been my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think if it's in your DNA, that process you just described is really what drives us a lot. So when I really started getting under the hood of being a BA, my brain was just kind of lost in this BA world, because you got the IIBA, you got the CBAP certification, and my brain kept going, okay, we have a certification called a Salesforce Business Analyst. What does that have to do with the IIBA and CBAP? And at the end of the day, what I realized and what I had to learn was this concept of being a generalist BA, and that's really the core. And then a lot of them BAs have specialties, and it just so happens that if you started with Salesforce, you're probably a Salesforce specialist. So how have you seen that kind of get pulled into the mix?
Oh, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, there's formal business analysis, and that's the business analysis that you're going to get from the IIBA. Salesforce itself is its own industry. And so what a business analyst looks like in the Salesforce ecosystem might look different than what a business analyst might look like on another IT project or a ServiceNow project, or maybe, installing some new software. I think with the ecosystem, because business analysis was introduced a little bit late, the BA certification only really came out, I think, in 2022. It was only really introduced as a formal role, like an actual role that could exist, like in 2020 on the Trailhead website. I think Salesforce in particular is maybe a little late in figuring out what a business analyst is supposed to do or how important business analysis activities are in Salesforce projects. And so while I think it's really important to understand that formal IIBA style of business analysis, I think when you're a BA in the Salesforce ecosystem, you have to understand the nuance in this particular industry where almost every BA, when they're first coming out, is going to be expected to be able to handle administration and configuration. And they probably are going to look a little bit more like an admin than a BA on their first projects. And then what particular jobs they may have to do on a Salesforce assignment would be different than maybe what they'd have to do on some more formal IT project. So there is nuance, and I think that's why it's important that we do have the Salesforce BA certification. But I also do think that as Salesforce as a industry evolves as far as how we deliver projects, we will move closer and closer towards more formal business analysis.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I think part of it, like especially if you're out there, trying to hunt down a job, I've noticed that, the little smaller to medium-sized organizations are kind of like, oh, we need a Salesforce administrator. Oh, and by the way, we want you to know Apex. And by the way, we need you to be a BA too. And where, as you get a little bit higher in the food chain in the business world, where larger organizations, the roles become more siloed. And when they hire a BA, it says Salesforce Business Analyst, and they try to still sneak in some developer stuff in there. It's like, nope, I don't know Apex. Let me just get that right on the table. I know zero Apex. So, yeah, interesting. But as time goes forward, I'm seeing that need. And, like I said, I've owned lots of companies and I never knew it was like a thing. I kind of sort of heard about it through the ecosystem. So, how important? Oh, go ahead.
I'll throw in a little thing. I think so. All right, you go to the Trailhead website and you go to the admin skills kit. There's a whole section on like what are the skills that an admin needs to have. There's like 14 skills. It's a little out of control right now, and I'm looking for the industry to correct itself a little bit. But I think certainly if you want to be a good admin, you have to be able to wear a BA hat. You can be an okay admin and not do and just be kind of a ticket taker, but to be a good admin, you need to be able to wear a BA hat. And I would love to see a BA section in the admin exam because everybody's taking that admin exam. And okay, well, what are the skills that we need to be a good Salesforce administrator? You need some business analysis skills. So I think that is very important. But I would love to, see the roles maybe adjust a little bit that are common in the Salesforce ecosystem so it isn't such a mishmash in these job postings. I totally agree with you. It makes me very cringe. But I've never written any Apex for anybody that's concerned about it.
Well, yeah. What I've noticed is, and I actually did a podcast on this, and because over the course of about 4 or 5 months, I had went through about 60 to 65 job interviews. And one of the things that I learned was I said, hey, folks, do not stress too much about Trailhead and certifications. Yes, go ahead and study all that and get your certs for your own knowledge and your own personal satisfaction. But trust me, a lot of recruiters, a lot of hiring managers, they don't even know Trailhead exists. Some of them don't even know that there is such thing as a Salesforce certification, let alone a BA certification. So I've had lots of the conversations where they're just never question about certifications in interviews, just don't know anything about it. And, that's okay.
I don't know that that's okay. I think that's a big problem why we have so many janky implementations of Salesforce out there.
Right.
It's because, when folks that are sold Salesforce, the customers, they aren't sold on how to, they don't get that little cute Petco manual on how to care for your Salesforce org,
Right.
So they don't know how to staff properly. They don't know how to maintain it properly. They don't know that business analysis is important. And that's where I'm talking about championing Salesforce Business Analysis in the ecosystem. It's not just for the professionals. It's also for the customers, because they need to know as soon as we go live. It's not like, okay, set it and forget it. That is definitely not Salesforce right now.
Well, a lot of these companies think that. So I worked for a company out of Dallas, Texas for almost a year. And they had a Sales Cloud org for about 12 years. And when I got into it, it was a mess. So I started talking to folks, and they had, over the course of 10 to 12 years, they probably had 8 to 9 different admins that worked for them. So everybody's cobbling together stuff different. You got IT jumping in that know nothing about it, and they're changing stuff. So what I learned was this organization, it was kind of like a, I don't know, pardon the term, a redheaded stepchild. Everybody used Salesforce. The company relied on it, but nobody in management took it serious. Like, we're not spending no money on it. We bought the software. That's all we need. And they kind of have just exactly what you're talking about, where they buy it and they just think, well, we bought it, so what else do we need? And they don't realize, they need somebody to manage that.
Well, I think a lot of, and maybe I'm definitely a little bit on the older side. So I do remember the days of like, you'd buy software, you install it, and then that's the software you have.
Right.
Like the SaaS era is still kind of confusing to older leaders that maybe aren't as up on some of this stuff. And like, the idea that Salesforce is a platform that is going to have 3 releases a year is like not something that they consider. It's not something that they even know about. Architecture, the business analysis, DevOps, like there's so much that goes into a Salesforce org that if you don't have the team in place to actually take care of it, that's where you are going to end up with your 8 admins. And where, you tell me that particular scenario, and in my head I go, well, they didn't have the right documentation, because Salesforce is a team sport. So what are our team naming conventions? What do we agree on as far as automations are concerned? What is the information that we can pass from one person to the next? And whether it's admins that are coming and going, or consultants that are coming and going, or even just as far as like, what's our security model? How do we decide what questions we need to ask so that people actually get admin access or get any access? These are the things that are so important as far as governance goes. And that whole set it and forget it mentality is what will ultimately lead organizations. And it really is, you need educated leadership and the time and the budget and the resources to actually be able to set those standards, set that governance, set those touch base points with your stakeholders, build the right team, build the right documentation, and maintain the thing so that you can continue to be successful. Otherwise, you're going to be burning your Salesforce org to the ground and rebuilding it and throwing more money at Salesforce every 5 to 10 years. That's exactly what I've seen.
No, exactly. And I completely agree. I think there's a part there you got to remember, though, is motivation. Some of these companies, they know what they need to do. They just kind of don't care. They don't want to. And so... Yeah. I mean, there are some that are out there that are like that I've seen. And when you're a solo admin, you got, 100 users, which, is a fair amount. And the upper management's not supporting you. You just kind of feel like hey, by the way, we got to do this. Oh, okay. Well, just handle it. Yeah, whatever. And so, some organizations are like that, but I love the ones that like take it serious. They understand the way I always describe Salesforce to the folks that don't quite understand. I say, look, if you're going to use a rockin' sales automation platform to manage your business, you could do one of about 3 things. You could find some software that's off the shelf, can't really change much. It'll get the job done, and you got to conform to it. On the other side of the scale, you could hire a bunch of developers and develop your own software from scratch. Probably don't want to do that. Salesforce is right in the middle. It's off the shelf, and you can do anything you want to it. And that's the cool thing and also the bad thing.
Absolutely. It's also what makes the projects the most difficult to execute, which is why being a Salesforce business analyst means that you do have to have a strong understanding of the Salesforce platform.
Yep. Okay, so let's get to the badass Salesforce business analyst piece. So for all you guys out there in LinkedIn land, if you're looking to excel in Salesforce as a business analyst, Vanessa, tell us, what type of skills do they need to be focusing on?
I think communication skills and writing skills. When you're interviewing for Salesforce BA roles, your interviewer is often going to be looking at you and wanting to picture you in front of their stakeholders. And so if you can come across as somebody who's intelligent, who can communicate effectively, can ask questions, can validate, and these are all things that you can do over the course of an interview, I think you stand a better chance of getting that role. I also think that needs to translate into your written communication. So when we're talking about user stories and documentation, you need to be able to love communication and being able to document things well, because business analysis, when you have those user stories done right, will be the foundation of those larger strategic initiatives at your organization, whether it's you're working for consultancy or you're working internally.
Nice. So I had a personal question that I was going to ask you, not a personal question, but a question that is from me to you that I was thinking about. And it was kind of around this concept, you think about going through training, whether it's the IIBA, your Salesforce BA cert, whatever the case is, and you get all these, it's like learning how to dance. You can look at those charts, put your right foot here, your left foot here, step back one, do a spin, whatever. And those are those instructions. But then there's people that just instinctively know how to dance. They hear music, boom, they're dancing. And so I think about that DNA gut instinct kind of piece for solving problems, because, everybody can learn how to use, can create diagrams or create processes, how to do a requirements gathering session, ask questions. But I think it's that curiosity piece. What's your take on that?
I think that there is a certain aspect of, I'll put it this way. I think if you find your passion in Salesforce business analyst jobs, so tasks, then you are likely to be a better business analyst if that's where your passion lies. So for me, I knew that business analysis was going to be a huge part of my life and was a direction that I was interested in when I would listen to speakers like Tony V. Martin and Ian Gotts and Richard Cunningham. And when the things that they said were things that I truly in my gut and my soul believed and was passionate about and wished that everybody understood, because sometimes I felt like people didn't really understand what they were saying, and understood the value and the importance. And when I found that passion, like one of the things that people say is like, oh, I can tell that you're really passionate about it when you speak. I am. If you can find that you are passionate about business analysis and you're going into these projects and you're feeling really good about the outcomes that you're moving towards and the work that you have to do to get there, like, then maybe that is your role. Maybe you will be a better business analyst if you are passionate about it, and it will also motivate you to continue to learn, to evolve your craft. It's not like I've been a business analyst for my entire career. Have I been doing some business analysis tasks? Yes, but formally I haven't been doing it for that many years. But it's something that I'm passionate about. So my trajectory has been a lot quicker than others.
Sure.
And so that's where I would say, like, yes, it's in my DNA, but that's also what makes me good. But I don't think that it's the only way to make you a good business analyst. I mean, you can just study, drill, practice, have a lot of Salesforce experience. But do I think that having some passion for the craft is helpful? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that, having owned multiple companies, owned businesses, having ran accounting because you had to, having had to hook up the phone system because you had to, running marketing, managing sales teams, managing building houses out in the field, hammering 2x4s to get the house completed. I think that you forget how much you can bring into a BA role, because every time I sit down with some requirements gathering, my brain is already 2 steps ahead going, oh, yeah, I know exactly how to sort this out. I know exactly what they're doing wrong and why they're having pain points. So do you find that any of your previous experience kind of comes up to the front when you're listening to, stakeholders?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I didn't realize until I'd been working for a number of years that there is a certain gift that I have, and I'm sure others have, where they can see a process and already think about the ways that they would like to optimize it. And that's just something that I brought even before I was doing Salesforce work, where, okay, I worked at a real estate. I was a rent collector for my first job when I was 18 because my uncle owned a real estate. And I built out a database for them because I was tired of doing a manual check every time, check mark every time somebody brought in their rent check. I was like, no, we need a database. That way we can actually pull some reports and get my call list together. That wasn't anything that I was paid to do with my, I think I was making like $7 an hour, but it made my life easier. That's
where your brain was going. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, there's nothing. I used to do marketing for this home builder, and this home builder in the Seattle market, they had about 15 offices between Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. And when I first started working for them, I'm going, okay, you guys got 15 offices, and you got about 20 salespeople, because every office had like 2 salespeople. And you guys have been in this business for like 20 years. Do you have any historical data I can look at? How many leads are you guys getting in every week? How many of them are converting into sales? They had nothing. 0. And that I had to go home and decompress, because I'm like, oh my God. So I'm talking to the owner and I'm trying to explain, if you guys had been using Salesforce since day one, even if the data was put in wrong and the data was all dirty and nasty, as business analysts, talk to me a little bit about mastering Salesforce. And if you're going to be in the Salesforce arena as a Salesforce BA, sure, you got that BA piece, but you also got that kind of admin piece. In some roles, you're like 90% BA, and it's nice that you know admin. And there's other roles, they want you to be a third BA, but they want you to manage their org. So you got to know that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's a lot of different clouds and different industries that are served by Salesforce. And I think this is where, if you're a career transitioner and you have some previous experience, you can kind of figure out where it makes sense to maybe, I don't want to say plant your flag, but maybe start moving in the direction of those particular clouds. Because you can, even though Salesforce Business Analysis is niche, you can niche even further as far as clouds go. So I think the most common ones are sales and service. I don't know that you necessarily need to be a specialist at both, but they tend to go hand in hand. If you're not clear on any other direction, sales and service are the bread and butter of Salesforce. So learn those. Again, find which ones you're passionate about. Don't get too distracted by, I think a lot of folks go where are people getting hired? I'll learn that cloud and I'll learn it really well. But I think you're going to, again, run into that problem that if it's just not something that you're passionate about or know anything about or have any transferable skills in that particular area, it's going to not make sense. Whereas if you, let's say, come from a service industry or have been customer support before, you've been an end user of Salesforce, or maybe you started in marketing and that's something you're really passionate about, and so you're interested in Marketing Cloud, I think learning what makes sense and what drives you and drives your passion is probably the way to go. As far as how you learn it, I think the ticket to entry is always going to be that admin certification. if you're interested in Marketing Cloud, there is an admin certification there as well. So kind of figure out, all right, which kind of direction am I leaning towards? What certification would I need to at least kind of prove myself as far as understanding that particular platform, and keep working Trailhead and keep, I would say, connecting with folks that are also that have those interests. I'm a big proponent of making sure that your LinkedIn feed serves you. So rather than kind of getting distracted with, okay, let me get all the clouds and connect with all the things, if you can keep it more focused, let's say I'm interested in Marketing Cloud. I would try and follow folks that are big Marketing Cloud people. I would follow those YouTube channels that talk about Marketing Cloud. And by getting my LinkedIn feed to serve me, by connecting with those influencers, by connecting with those consulting companies that maybe focus on Marketing Cloud, it will keep me on the pulse of all the news for that particular part of the industry. So learning, of course, is going to be, you've got to understand the business analysis part if you want to be a BA. Figure out which clouds that you're interested in, make sure you get that ticket to entry for that first certification, and then start connecting with the people that will keep you in the loop so that you can see webinars on any particulars. You can maybe start working towards that next certification. If there's new features that come out, understanding and reading those articles about what all those new features are about, and keeping yourself educated, because education is going to be a lifelong journey no matter which cloud you're in.
Yes, absolutely. And I completely agree with what you just said. There's something that I've seen, and it's baffling to me, but I guess I kind of sort of see why people do it. What I've learned, and I did the same thing. I call it, hopping lily pad hopping. You get your admin cert and you're all pumped because, that's not an easy cert. And once you knock that thing down, then you start trying to figure out, what cert do I got to do next when you're actually looking for a job. So then the recruiter calls you like, hey, do you have any experience in Marketing Cloud? Well, I know marketing. And so then you dive into Marketing Cloud and you just start pounding that out, trying to get that cert. And pretty soon you're trying to get a cert for Pardot. And next thing you know, you're trying to get a cert for a developer. And I see some of these folks and they got like 25 certs. They've been doing this over a year. They've never gotten a job. And I'm kind of sort of like, all over your LinkedIn profile, you got this, looks like the general of the army, all these badges and awards. And my brain just goes, I have no idea what you do and what your experience is in. Because as you know, Vanessa, Salesforce Marketing Cloud is a beast.
Yeah.
It is not easy. And I'm a marketing guy, and I know HubSpot, I know ActiveCampaign, Zoho, and Salesforce, but first time I really started diving deep into Marketing Cloud, I was like, poof, like what the heck? You got to be a developer to really run Marketing Cloud as well as a marketing person. So yeah, I 100% agree. And I would really, really stress folks, if they're trying to get a job in the ecosystem, find the thing you're good at, find the thing you love, find the thing that you probably have some experience, and you got to just focus on that. And if you only got 2 or 3 certs, that's okay, because I've had multiple jobs with 0 certs. And honestly, I rarely, if anyone ever asks me if I'm certified, they just,
I don't know that those days are around so much anymore, unless there are folks that are coming up internally that just know the business and are end users of Salesforce, maybe get invited onto the Salesforce team. I think for folks that are transitioning into Salesforce, at a minimum, you need 1 cert. I would say it's so rare at this point to, you'd have to demonstrate some insane level of education and passion and transferable skills before I think anybody would hire without any certifications. And it used to be different. Like, I would say the Salesforce job market has been evolving probably, gosh, it feels like every 3 years it either dips or goes up, or what folks are looking for kind of changes a bit. But post-pandemic, there was you couldn't throw bodies at Salesforce projects fast enough, anybody could get, it was almost like anybody could get hired, like, oh, Salesforce riches, because there were so many companies doing like digital transformations that the experience that, as long as you had some transferable skills and weren't going to embarrass somebody in front of a client, they would throw you on Salesforce projects. Now that kind of period has died down a bit, post-pandemic, we are seeing a little bit of, you do need that cert to kind of even get through the door. And salaries are probably, I would say, decreasing a bit these days because so many people did come in during that time, but the work has not kept up.
Yes. The cert many times has gotten me into the first interview, at least helped. I was like one of the boxes they were checked. Is he certified? Check. Blah, 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 blah. You get into the interview, and I tell you what, clicked. And just being able to look back at problems and then my solution and a problem, my solution, all went into my my interview story toolbox that I pull from, because if there's one thing across the board I've found at job interviews is they want to know what you've done, and they want to know that you know what you're talking about and you have some experience being able to say, oh yeah, one time blah, blah, blah happened, and this is how I solved it. And when you talk at that level, that gets you to the second interview and the third interview and potentially a job offer. So talk about fostering strong stakeholder relationships, because that can go sideways real quick.
As far as fostering strong relationships with stakeholders, I think it's really important to be a bit charismatic and likable. Don't start using a bunch of technical Salesforce jargon when you walk in. Don't try and be the smartest person in the room. When you are working with stakeholders, oftentimes you have to imagine, like, if you put some empathy into the situation, and I think it's really important as a BA to be empathetic. You're oftentimes walking in and they know their jobs are going to change, and that's scary for them. And almost to a certain extent, if we're taking their business processes and changing them, that will oftentimes foster a feeling with them that maybe they weren't doing their job well, or that their job wasn't being done optimally or properly. And so coming in being like, oh, I'm the smartest person in the room and I'm the Salesforce person, I'm going to save you, is not going to foster a really great stakeholder relationship. So coming in from a place of, I'm here to help you, and I really need you to be as honest with me as possible and answer the questions that I have so that we can get you to a place where you can be even more successful than you are. I think part of that is also making sure that we have the proper executive sponsorship so that they respect that you're in the room and that there are other stakeholders, beyond the people that are in the room that are supporting the project. And I think it's also really important to validate when you're speaking to a stakeholder. So if they explain something, especially if it's something that's like industry specific or something nuanced with their particular business process, you go, okay, so just so I understand, let me repeat this back to you and just make sure that I got it right. And that's something that's going to be reflected in your communication with them verbally, but it should also be reflected in those user stories that you're going to get, that if you're doing an agile project, you'd also want to validate with those stakeholders to make sure that you captured everything properly. Stakeholders want to feel heard. They want to feel like they're understood. And once those things I think are in place, that they feel like they have a level of trust with you, they feel like you understand them and that you've captured their needs properly so that they can move on to those developers who are going to put that together. And you're also transparent during the development process. So like demos and collecting feedback and incorporating feedback, you will likely have a much more successful stakeholder engagement.
Yes, I agree. I have found with workshops, like one I did recently, there was about 30 to 40 people in it. And there was 2 people that pretty much talked. Everybody else just kind of chilled out. Nobody else threw much in. But it's because the 2 knew their existing processes inside and out. And they were pounding those out. And everybody else just like, yep, I agree. And so it's kind of nice when you have people that know the process, the existing process, if you're in that current state piece. So talk a little bit about, there's my Macintosh that likes to just throw random party stuff out. Talk a little bit about, here I'm going to throw you a little curveball.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to give you a scenario. This is probably an easy one. So the scenario is you go into a company and you're the BA, the Salesforce BA, and they're just coming on board and they're going to be working on their implementation. And you get into a sales team. Let's say this is for a home building company. A lot of construction guys, a lot of guys a little rough around the edges. And then you got a few, like what I call kind of older guys who, to them, technology is a golf pencil and a piece of paper. That's it. They don't like Outlook. They don't know what Excel even is. None of that. But they're sales guys. They can sell ice to an Eskimo. So you got like 6 guys on the team. Let's say one lady, she gets it. Then you got 4 guys, a couple of guys get it. But you got like these 3 or 4 older guys that you got to bring them along kicking and screaming. What is your approach for the first stakeholder meeting?
Well, I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily, especially if they were all kind of resistant. I don't know that having a big workshop with all of them would necessarily be the way. I'd probably aim for, who manages them? And direct me to the couple of SMEs, the couple of folks that you want me to learn the process from. Who does these things best? That you want to emulate, so that we can, and yes, everybody's going to, especially if you don't have a particularly well-documented process, you're going to have those 7 salespeople. They might do their jobs all completely differdifferently. But right. I think that there's also going to be a manager that's going to have some sense of who's the poster child, who's doing this in a way that I'm also getting the information that I need, that then I think that they're doing things properly. They're not cutting too many corners, or if they are cutting corners, like maybe it is I just interview the manager first, because I also do need their pain points. But I think having them identify 1 or 2 SMEs and maybe getting those SMEs in a room and having them agree on what their day-to-day looks like and what those processes are, and letting them talk it out a little bit between each other, so that they can go, okay, well, wow, that's an interesting that you do. How should we do this moving forward? I think would probably be my direction, but I would really need that manager to sponsor me, because going in with a bunch of folks that are resistant and are already planning on not adopting stuff, right. Like that means, okay, I need more executive sponsorship, and maybe we need a kickoff so we can get everybody excited first. Maybe we need some, not vision boarding, but some art of the possible, so that they can get a little bit hyped. I don't know that those would be the folks in the construction company, but maybe there is another construction company that's done some really cool things that we'd be able to point to.
Well, some of the smaller organizations, they're a little more to the point. They don't pussyfoot around. They get the guys in a room. It's like, hey guys, so here's the deal. We're bringing on this new CRM system. You got to use it. End of story. So just wrap your head around that concept. And if you don't use it, then you're not going to get paid, because all the commissions are going to be pulled out of the sales system. And if you find that your paycheck is a few thousand short, it's probably because you weren't putting your leads in the system. So there you go. This lady, Vanessa, she's going to come by and she's going to start pulling together some of your input. So be nice to her. And, you still got those gruff guys that are just like, I don't know, this whole thing seems kind of stupid. And
you know what? I think there's also acknowledging how they feel about that. It's not like you're wrong. Like, if we don't do this right, it's gonna be bad. This is why I'm here. Like, I wanna understand what you're going through here. Like, it's not just about like, okay, let's just collect a bunch of information so we can push it up to management. Like, I actually want to make your life easier. So what are the things on your day-to-day that would make your life easier? Is there information that you wish you had at your fingertips? Like, let's talk about those things, and let's talk about what your day-to-day is. And maybe the first day is just that I just hang out with them for a day and shadow them, and show some respect for their current job, and start taking notes and asking them questions and building a rapport. The approach will be a little bit different. Building rapport is huge. Oh yeah, huge.
I actually did virtually the same thing that I'm explaining right here. And what I did was I realized that most of these guys that are kind of lagging, They just don't know what it is. They don't understand it. They don't live in the technology world. I mean, we live in it, so it's second nature to us. So what I did was, I said, guys, I want to show you something. Just give me 10 minutes. And I put on a PowerPoint and I showed them the user interface for a lead object. That's all I did. I said, here's the deal. All you got to do is type in blah, 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 blah. Save it, done. Now here's what's going to happen. Automatically behind the scenes, all them emails you've been sending out, there's a bunch of them that are going to just go out automatically. You don't even have to think about it. Secondly, you're going to make more money. Oh, there goes Vanessa. She died again, I think. Okay. Anyway, so I told these guys, all this stuff's going to happen. You're going to make more money. Your life's going to be easier. There's going to be some automated follow-up. The system's going to tell you, hey, Bob, call Susie, who is interested in a house. Call her tomorrow. Send her an email. A lot of this is going to be automated. And at the end of the day, you'll have more time to do the fun stuff, and you'll make more money, and life will be beautiful. And so they kind of, and plus I made a lead object that was very simple, very easy. Not too many fields, and then I added fields as kind of, bite-sized chunks as time went on. And then after 6 months, they never even, it was like they had always been using it.
Yeah, I mean, that art of the possible stuff at the beginning, like that, getting them educated on, also, besides educating them on the actual tool, I think it's also important to educate them on what the delivery process is going to look like.
Sure.
Like, why are we interviewing them? Why is business analysis important?
Yes.
Because especially if they're going to be spending a lot of time with me and I'm trying to get the proper requirements, having them understand that if we don't get this part right, like we're going to end up building stuff that's not going to be beneficial to you. So the more that you can tell me and bring me into your confidence and show me, what you do, the better it'll be for everybody. And the happier you'll be at the end of this thing.
So Jason had a question, and he says, is it more effective to learn Salesforce skills as an existing BA in another industry, or learn BA skills as somebody who's already in the Salesforce ecosystem?
I don't know that it makes a huge difference. I think the important part is that if you're going to work on Salesforce projects, you need to know Salesforce. So if you're a BA in another industry and already have some formal business analysis training and experience, I think that's fantastic. Learn those BA skills, get that admin certification, and I think you'll be in a good spot to take on an SFBA role. Now, if you're already working in the Salesforce ecosystem, you might already need some business analysis or work with a business analyst, and learning that a little bit more formally will also get you there. But I think the important part is if you're going to do business analysis in the Salesforce ecosystem, you have to know Salesforce so that you're not custom building everything just because you don't understand the platform.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So as we're winding things down here, maybe you could tell us, what are Vanessa's, let's say, top 3 skills and or personality traits that make a badass business analyst?
I mean, I don't know how badass empathy is, but that's always my number one. Empathy is so important in this field. I think communication. So I don't know if I can get verbal and written as just kind of one bullet or
right.
And I think, let's see, a third skill that I think is really important to be a business analyst. Let's see, communication, empathy, teamwork, the ability to work with a team. Business analysts are often on projects, and those are going to be team-based. The BA, if you're one BA on a project and you're also doing the solution architecting and the configuration, you're not just a BA. Make sure you're getting paid more money. So being able to work well in a team and being able to, I would say maybe having like some DevOps skills to a certain extent, because DevOps is, besides deployment, there's also the culture of a team, and how we deliver projects is part of the DevOps process. And I have found that learning that's also very important when you're on, team-based project after team-based project after team-based project.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I actually, sorry, I guess, or maybe I'll drop that one off and say, of course you have to know Salesforce, but I feel like that's kind of a given. Maybe that's not like a skill so much as like, you just need to know that.
Well, I kind of feel like it's kind of nice. I mean, like if you went out and got your CBAP or one of those IIBA certifications and you kind of had that foundation and you've already been in the Salesforce ecosystem, that's kind of cool, because if for some reason you can't quite like plug into a Salesforce BA role, you have that generalist knowledge so that you can, be a BA anywhere.
Oh, absolutely. I think Salesforce projects are particularly challenging because Salesforce is a platform, but the skills that you will develop as a Salesforce BA, certainly you could take to all sorts of projects. And I have worked as a Salesforce BA where all of a sudden, if I was internal, they were like, hey, can you also help us and play that BA role on launching our LMS? Like, okay, it's not a difficult, it's not a super difficult transition, in my opinion, to go from a Salesforce BA project to like a non-Salesforce one. Okay. Unless it's like another platform. Like if you're doing like ServiceNow, okay, well, you should probably know some ServiceNow before you're moving into that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, pretty much any software, whether it's Microsoft Dynamics or Siebel or whatever, yeah. SAP, they all have their nuances. And if you're going to be a BA for that software and live in that world, especially if they're doing implementation, then yeah, you gotta nail that down. So what's next for Vanessa? What are you working on? What's new coming up?
Right now it's TDX. So I'm hanging out TDX, and I'm actually on the hunt for a new admin for my team. So maybe meet somebody while I'm here. As far as my community work, I am still working really hard on the Salesforce BA community. I would like to have meetings every month. I would like it to be global, so we do it at different times every month so that everybody can participate. I do have to get like the recordings up on YouTube. I would love to get a site up. My hope is really to have a central spot for Salesforce Business Analysis resources. Right now, Salesforce is actually, Salesforce has admin.salesforce.com and developer.salesforce.com and architect.salesforce.com, and there's no ba.salesforce.com. So I'm going to try and do my best to have some spot that when folks are interested in becoming a Salesforce Business Analyst, they go, oh, here's a great place to start, and hopefully the spot that I always wish existed when I started things. So that's really the big thing that I'm working on. Other than that, championing business analysis throughout the Salesforce ecosystem, like I'm doing right here.
Yeah, that's cool, because then that helps so that the rest of us have a job. Like it actually is something, right? And back to you real quick. We were talking about. And you got admins in larger organizations where, they're one of 5 admins, and it's basically, here's a list of stuff to do. Just do these things. Here, add these users. All right, cool. Next, all right, create this profile. Okay, next. And all you're doing is just, you're just 100% straight admin. I've never been an admin where BA was not part of the equation, because they're usually, hey, Jerry, we every time we log in, blah, blah, blah happens, and it's just the worst. So can you fix that? Sure. So then you sit down and you're like, okay. So now you get your BA hat on. So then you got to go back, ask a few more questions, because I don't want to do a bunch of work and then it not be the right thing. So let me ask some more questions. And then, so this BA piece to me is kind of the fun part. Okay.
But I think being a ticket taker, you are going to end up accumulating so much tech debt if you don't learn how to say no to your stakeholder, that in 5 to 10 years, you will burn that hole to the ground and have to build a new one. You need that governance. You need that business analysis. You need that product ownership hat. You need the user experience hat. there's so much that goes into keeping an org healthy. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to do that because that's the ticket I received. That means that you're letting all of your users decide what goes into your org.
Yes.
You turn your org into Frankenstein, and it's a mess. And I've seen it time and time again.
Oh, yeah. I do not work well where it's just shut up, sit in the corner, and do what I tell you to do. Yeah, that's Jerry's brain just like goes sideways. Well, I have an idea. I don't want no ideas. Just shut up and do what we tell you to do. I got way too many opinions about things. Well, thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah, no, I'm always happy to come on and chat business analysis. It's where my passion lies, but I truly believe that all Salesforce projects will be more successful the more that the stakeholders, the professionals, and leadership understands about business analysis, and including AEs. Can I just say, like, I think AEs being able to communicate to customers that are buying Salesforce the importance of business analysis. So I'm going to keep on showing up at shows like yours. Thank you so much for the invite, and wherever else anybody will take me, because I think this is super important stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for taking time out of your day. We appreciate you coming and giving our little Jerry Rig podcast a little bit of a boost. We appreciate that. And in case anyone wonders how I came up with the name Jerry Rig, it's because it was actually my buddy who gave me the idea. He's like, man, you're always cobbling things together and making them work. Your name is Jerry. Just call it Jerry Rigged. I'm like, hey, I kind of like that. Well,
nice. I like it.
Any parting words?
I guess all the best to you, Jerry. It was a pleasure meeting you during Clicked. If folks are interested in a more of a safe place to try out some business analysis before they get on a true project, definitely go the Jerry route and come hang out with us on Clicked. But it was great meeting you, and I really appreciate the invite.
Thanks, Vanessa. And everyone else, you guys can hit me up on LinkedIn. And just want to thank everyone for coming today. We're going to be signing off. This is where business innovation and processes and curiosity meet technology. You'll stay one step ahead of the game if you hanged out with Jerry.
The Jerry Rigged Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or Google. Business technology for CEOs, managers, and business owners. We're here to deliver insights and strategies without the fluff. This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast.